sort of splicing.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
welcome to the Somerville Job Creation and Retention Trust meeting of February 4th, 2025. My name is Annika Van Eaton, and I am the managing trustee of the Job Creation and Retention Trust. And I call this meeting to order at
6:34.
6:34. On March 29th, 2023, Governor Healy signed into law a supplemental budget bill which extends the temporary provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to March 31st, 2025. This extension allows public bodies to continue holding meetings remotely without a quorum of the public body physically present at a meeting location, and to provide adequate alternative access to remote meetings. The session is being held in a hybrid format, will be recorded, and will be a public record. I will now ask the board members to confirm they are in attendance in alphabetical order. Thomas Bent.
Present.
Vicky Coit. Absent. Sylvana Dinka.
Got her just joining.
Oh, hey Sylvana, welcome. Hello.
Hi, everyone. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no worries. I literally had just called your name for taking roll.
Thanks.
Sylvana Dinka.
Yes.
All right. Jim Hetchy.
Yes.
Jacob Luria. Absent. Wilfred Mba. Absent. Rachel Ned Carney.
Present?
Annika Van Eaton, present. Rand Wilson.
Present.
We have a quorum. I will now ask city staff to present a few house rules about using the technology. William, take it away.
Thanks, Annika. As you all know, my name is William Blackmer. I am the Workforce Development Coordinator and serve as staff to the Job Creation and Retention Trust. When an agenda item is being presented, presentation materials received ahead of time will be displayed on the screen. If the chair asks for public comment, please raise your hand or use the raise hand function if you are on Zoom and would like to speak, and you will be unmuted one by one and given 2 minutes to speak. Trust members, all votes must be roll call votes with a motion and a second. The chair will call on each board member for a yes/no vote in alphabetical order, and any comments that are typed into the chat box will be a part of the public record in accordance with open meeting law. One-to-one chat has been disabled to comply with public records. So with that, I will pass it back to Annika for the first agenda item.
Thanks, William. So our first agenda item is to review and approve our past meeting minutes. The meeting materials were attached in the email we got in advance. First, are there any edits or revisions to be made to the October 22nd? Thank you. That meeting in the past, any edits? Alrighty, any edits or revisions to be made to the November 19th meeting? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve both of these meeting minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Would you like to make the motion?
Yes.
I
Would you
second.
make the motion?
Well, we, sometimes been a little chill about
I
the
know,
agenda
I know.
items, or the minutes.
I got corrected on another meeting the other night, that's
Okay.
why.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yes, then Tom, please make the motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of both board meetings, the October 22nd and November 19th meetings.
I second that.
Thank you. Okay. I will now go through the board members alphabetical order to vote if they approve. Thomas Bent,
Yes.
Sylvana Dinka,
Yes.
Jim Hetchy,
Yes.
Rachel Ned Carney,
Yes.
Annika Van Eden, yes, Rand Wilson.
Yes.
All right. Passes, let those be entered into the records. Our second agenda item is that we have received information about the JCRT board reappointment process. And William, I'll pass it over to you to give an overview of that process, or what we know so far.
Thank you. Yeah, so as Annika mentioned, all of the board members should have received an emailed letter back in December regarding the administration's new reappointment process, which is beginning to go into effect in this new year. This is a staggered reappointment process. It's considered a multi-year process and seeks to increase opportunities for all community members to participate on the city's boards and commissions, including those who have been previously underrepresented. So the little bit of information that I can give is that this rollout is happening alphabetically by the name of the commission. We are the Municipal Job Creation and Retention Trust, so we are pretty far down.
Oh, plot
on the
twist.
list.
I didn't know municipal. was
Yeah.
part of the
I
name.
know.
Yeah.
So,
Who knew? It's
Yeah.
not that way on the website.
yeah, so
We'll take it.
we,
Better that than Jay.
yeah, so that's where we're at in the process. And I'm happy to take back any questions people had on the memo or the letter that was shared about next steps. And also I will be in touch. I'm reminded, Tom, of connecting with all the board members about their terms and what term they are on and when that ends.
Nice.
Yep.
Thanks, William. So with you have or I guess I would be interested in, if you could relay the question of a sense of when we would expect that we would be up, or if that's something that will just be like later in this year. Or...
Yeah, no, the timeline I received was later this year or next year.
I was just reading the
Yeah.
second page of it, multi-year process. So
Yeah,
Well,
my guess is it'll be next year for us.
I mean, I don't know what the other board names are. Maybe everything starts with municipal.
Yeah, well, that's right, yeah, because, it's funny, it doesn't say it there,
I know,
right? Could have been, it could have been city.
why we go back to the original source material, I
Couldn't even
guess.
see.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks, William. We will await direction and guidance and look forward to more information about that process as it comes out. Thanks for sharing with us that update. Do any other board members have any questions? Okay. Okay, let us look at our estimated linkage fees.
yes, I will bring that up next. I'm gonna make this a little bigger. I know our resolution is not great on the screen here in person. But the update that I have on these numbers is that since we last looked at the funds, we have received a final payment for a couple of properties. Those were the 599 Somerville Ave and the all of the 10, 20, and 50 prospects in Union Square. We also had some funds that were released back into the available pot as some 2024 grants concluded, and right now the current balance sits around $200,000. We do still have a few projects that we're expecting to make payment in 2025. I can scroll over a little bit, but those include, 100 Chestnut, the second payment, payments for 5 Middlesex, 74 Middlesex, the second half, and 808 Windsor. So we have a few that are still coming up, but then beyond this list of about 5 that are pending, we don't have any projected for 2026 or 2027.
Nothing projected.
Right.
Hmm.
Because most of these are the second half of the linkage fees.
The 15 McGrath, that.
15 McGrath
That has
is,
been put on hold.
yeah, that's on hold, and that's the only one that is on hold that we did get
Right.
the first payment for.
And what's the, we know is there, so it sounded like there's nothing coming up either, right?
Right, nothing new to add to the list.
There's some proposals for work on Elm Street in Chester,
McGrath, probably.
pretty significant.
That's what we.
Right, what is it called? Copper
Mills, Yeah.
Mill?
Yeah.
Could,
Which one's that?
that's above the burn and.
Oh, yeah.
That,
But to be honest, where they are now, you're probably looking at least another
27,
year, 2
26,
years.
27?
And same thing with, Seminole,
yeah, Rachel, did you want to
Oh, yeah,
add
Rachel.
something?
Graphy, that project.
Yeah, just
So-
sort of,
Yeah, go ahead, Rachel.
I did just want to remind folks that remember that we're only looking at the pipeline of commercial space above 15,000. So for a project even like Copper Mill, which, we'll see where that lands, it wouldn't have an impact on the linkage coming in because the 15,000, if they're only doing ground floor retail, typically the 15,000 knocks out most of that.
The other potential one, Rachel, would be, Seminole, right?
Yes, that would trigger the linkage.
So the boom times are over,
Oh, yeah, they have been for a while.
what we've anticipated.
Yeah, no, that's why, the board made the decision a while ago to kind of hold us, to make sure that we can continue into next year with some of the ongoing, educational programs.
Do board members have any other questions, or thoughts?
So,
Okay. Okay. Thanks, William, for walking us through that. And now let's move on to our annual meeting recap. So back on November 19th, we held our annual meeting, our public forum, where members of the public even participated. And William shared materials from that meeting, recording and written comment. And so wanted to see what stood out for board members from that conversation and when reading the materials. So William, can we?
Yeah,
do this?
do you want me to make this bigger?
That's,
Or-
well, I'm actually okay from leaving on Tom,
Yeah.
but I know Randy to see it, but I'm wondering if we could put the Zoom screen on the side slightly,
Yes.
because otherwise I can't see them.
Um,
Getting a good look at Rachel.
Look great, Rachel. There, oh, that's, man, it's gonna look like a TikTok. That's fine. Sorry,
I don't know
folks,
if
we're,
that's-
we're just doing a little Zoom.
There we go.
manipulation.
Okay.
I think I'm like, sort of in it.
I don't know if that's makes it better or worse.
It makes it better in the sense that I can see everybody. But I don't know if it's.
I don't think,
From the
Um,
at-home view, it is clear.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I think they just can't see me, Rand or Tom, though.
That's all right.
That's all right.
Seems fair.
Oh, wait, no, there's Rand.
That's right, yeah.
If I speak up or move around, you can see me. But you have to, once you start talking, you'll
Let me-
be in the picture.
I could try to get rid of.
No, no.
I think if you put it back how it was the
Um,
time before that. Well, William is gonna do some tech maneuvering and while doing, I think if you keep it gallery, but then just
Yeah,
like
then
move it
get
on
rid
the
of
side,
that.
it'd be okay.
yeah. Mm,
I Immersive was really something though, I don't know,
Oh,
I don't
it's-
feel like doing that.
Tried to share my screen today, and what do you want? Because this,
oh my,
They've changed
okay,
the-
wait, what about this?
Oh.
Yeah, that's
Right.
good right there. You have you three on there and then the big screen is your document.
Oh, really? Okay,
Oh, no, not anymore. You just changed it. Now you're on the document. All three of you.
that's good enough.
There we go.
sorry.
Just
Um,
forget about the screen. We don't need to see.
Yeah, we don't need to see it.
Now it's just Rand on the document.
okay, there we go.
Oh, dear, better sit up.
Oh.
Get in a little.
Yeah, I don't wanna, I think this will be my last comment on this. I think if you put the view back to how it was, but keep the screen separated like this, then we'll get the best of both worlds.
So,
Yeah, I think we're back.
click on this,
Yeah.
and then,
Wherever you were making it immersive.
um,
Yeah, this is an immersive team experience.
I just don't know if we will just not show up now, but,
Well,
Right there, perfect. You're in the gallery. The pictures
can
are in the gallery and then we can see your screen.
okay, and so then if you.
There you go.
How does it look now?
Right? You guys are still in the gallery and then we can see your screen.
Okay.
And then can you bring them to go over that, or is that what's not working and that's what you've been,
I think that's,
Oh, wait.
okay.
there we go.
What's the best you can do?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's it.
perfect. Okay. Thank you,
Yeah.
thanks, William, appreciate that. Okay, so. Reflecting on our annual meeting. What stood out for board members from that meeting that we had?
Well, for
Rachel,
the,
sorry, Rachel, then Rand.
I think the thing that stood out to me was that several folks really highlighted the need for focusing on durable skills. And the other thing that stood out was, and I don't even know how to like phrase it, but like confidence building for job seekers was what I got out of the conversation around the women's empowerment program being so valuable, like the value it held for the folks who participated. And that they're, those sort of that support through the job hunt and how hard that can be.
Thanks, Rachel. Rand.
do you know that?
On my end, to be honest with you, it was similar, I thought too, we had a pretty good turnout, which was good, so there was a lot of conversation back and forth and hearing from some of the people that have been through the programs. It felt like, it has been very worthwhile and that they're benefiting from it. But I think the biggest thing that I got was, the kind of continued support, not just in the training, but, the whole navigation of, what's the next step after all this?
Yeah. That resonates for me too. Jim?
Yeah, and I was happy to see the participation. As you know, we don't get a lot of people coming to our meetings, so That was great, and I think, you know, just to really show how important what this board's doing, so, and having that importance and having the people speaking to how it works for them and the advantage of having this opportunity, so I think it was great.
Thanks, Jim. I would echo what folks have said, and then something else that stood out to me was one of the people who came talking about their training program and talking about that, or talking about training programs, and then talking about that a lot of the people in their program sort of need to get ready for the training program, and thinking about the idea of a bridge to the training program, or supporting in either basic needs or kind of getting folks to the point where the training program would be something they'd be eligible for, would be most useful for. And that they were expressing that some of the folks they work with aren't, like, that some of the training programs we're funding aren't necessarily where the folks they're working with are at as far as what they're applying for or able to apply for at that point. And I thought that was interesting for us to think about as far as building like a continuum or a pathway through training and to career.
So in that, it'd be interesting to figure out what are the things that they need, you know?
Yeah.
And probably depends too on the program. So if it's like I say, more of a trade apprenticeship program, there might be some things where if it's an IT or, you know, medical or lab assistant, whatever. But I wonder if there's like a lot of common things that if we had almost like a pre-program,
Yeah.
you know, the kind of, and it took maybe care of some basic things that, if we could figure out what those are. And that's almost like, you know, for people that feel like they need it, they could go for that, then move into the actual, whatever field that they're looking at. But no, I think that's a good point.
So the trades have
Pre-apprenticeship, yeah.
they have an apprenticeship program, but they also have a pre-apprenticeship program that maybe that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Could be up at the high school or.
And that's fairly new too, so it's kind of interesting to kind of look back at that, to see what they're doing, and some of it could be like basic math skills, or even English, you know, the second language skills.
It's been a big part of diversity, attracting women, people of color come into the trades. Pretty successful. So we could consider like putting out an RFP. We can't start the program, but we could request proposals for a program.
Yeah, any other thoughts on the Zoom folks? What do you think about the recap?
Annika, I had something. Would it be possible to have any one of the individuals that are participating in these wonderful programs to, you know, share the experience that they have? Because on the annual meeting, I mostly see organization and you know, other programs that are interested in running these wonderful programs, but individuals that are participated, they're the ones that already have done something, have benefit something, and how do they feel or how much they are recommending to the other people too. And probably just, I don't know, it would be something in written or how they would share this experience. But I'm eager to know anyone that has succeeded beside the fact that just finished the program and that's all, because finish is something, and then putting that thing that you finished in real life and having the experience is something else.
Thanks, Silvana. William, can you remind me, we've gotten some different testimonials from folks who have participated in the programs that we've funded. Are any of the contracts we currently have out, do they have like satisfaction survey type things as deliverables or as end? I can't recall. Or maybe we can.
Yeah, I mean, we do have, I can make a note on that. We definitely have, I know for the Bunker Hill program, we asked them to do kind of a post survey that was looking at satisfaction. Other programs, I don't know that we're explicitly asking.
I think if I
Them for
remember, I think
that.
for scholars, they had somebody kind of come in,
Yeah,
we
we,
was on Zoom and they talked about their experience.
Yeah,
I think we've had a few,
we've had a
Yeah.
couple training program
You know.
participants come in.
yeah, but I think we could find more opportunities for that. And to make sure those get shared with the board, more regularly.
Thanks, William. Thanks, Lavana.
it's kind of like one of the things that, and Jim, I think you could probably talk about this a little bit. I know in the past with the CTE program up at the high school, part of what they try to do is keep in contact with the students after they've graduated to see, did they continue on in their trade, or did they do something else? And how well are they doing, you know, and I know it's hard to do that because you lose contact,
Yeah,
but I think it's been a little bit easier with social media to do that. It's one of the positive things. You know, so I know we've tried to do that in the past, just to kind of get feedback and see how well they're doing a few years out.
Yeah, and we do the 1 year and the 2 year follow-up surveys, so, yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure, you know, like the CNA program that's running right now, you know, you'll be able to tell by, one, of completion, and two, if they pass their CNA test as well, so.
Jim, would it be possible for us to get a copy of those surveys, just to see what you're asking, that might be helpful?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
thanks, Jim. So I guess with the feedback from the public in mind, we have I think it would be good for us to think through what we want to be focusing on for the coming year. And William prepared an overview of our active programs and then our obligations, as in funds that we have obligated to programs but have not yet put out RFPs or did and haven't gotten sufficient responses. And so I think what we'll do is go through that overview and then have a conversation as a board if there are things that we've obligated that we want to revisit and reconsider if that's where we want the money to go towards, or things that we want to sort of figure out what we want to do with some of these funds. But first, let's take stock of where we are. So for that, William, you
Yeah.
want to walk us through this document? Thank you.
Yeah, so we have, the stuff highlighted in blue, as Annika mentioned, are the active programs, being run. We also have the expiration dates on there, so you can see, it shows that some of the programs are wrapping up in June, others are extending well into 2026. These programs, so just kind of going from the top, we have the post-secondary success program, which is scheduled to conclude at the end of June. So I also have the memo that I shared with materials that has a little bit more information on some of these programs. We have the Bunker Hill led project, English language learning classes are currently running, and those will be wrapping up at the end of June as well. We also have the Trauma and Resilient Somerville mental health training program that will be wrapping up in June. Other active programs are several programs with scale, including the ESOL/CNA program that Jim mentioned. There's currently 5 different programs at scale that we're funding, the last of which wraps up at the end of September. We are also continuing to partner with Franklin Cummings Tech. Their grant will go through the end of November for clean energy and IT trainings. And then we have a new program that's applications are gonna be opening up very soon. That's for the youth Pac-Man training program that will be happening this summer at Somerville High School. We additionally have adult career training programs with Just a Start that are currently running, and IT trainings with Percivalis that are currently running and are recruiting for new participants. And then lastly, we continue to have the professional development fund for workforce development and adult education professionals. So that's a quick summary of what is active at this time. And yeah, I can pause there if anyone has questions or comments. Unless you want me to go through the obligations or.
Yeah, I think a pause is.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions about the active programs that you're funding?
Annika, I had a small clarification. At the 11.1 professional development fund and workforce development at adult education, it says NA, the grantee, and then currently running, but expiration nothing. So can I be clarified on this non-applicable? What do they mean?
Yeah, the expiration is an NA because we didn't set an end to it. We just put the funds in a account, or I don't know what actually happens, but we put the funds aside for professionals within the city to apply and didn't set like a limit to it. And then for the NA, that's more because these have gone out, a couple of them have gone out and they go out to individuals. And so since it wasn't granted to an organization to manage, it's money that's there for individuals who are trying to raise their skills for their workforce training programs that they're running or other things related to their workforce development job. Yeah, there's not a grantee just because there's not one org that's getting it, it's the individuals.
So
Yeah,
it falls in under what it's an active program, but who runs it? It's the public schools or?
So technically I run it in that we do have the link on our website and that we've shared with nonprofit groups a few times. And when somebody applies to that, then I'm reviewing those applications. So we don't have a different organization that's overseeing those applications. It's just through me and my team to review and approve those.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alana. Any other questions or thoughts?
Now, do we know what the balance is of, okay, so the balance is the 57.7? Or is
Yeah,
that
so
what we started with, William?
that's the current balance. We started with 60,000, so we've just had a few that applications that have utilized it.
Okay.
Which organizations are they from?
From East Somerville Main Streets and I would need to check on the others.
So we haven't, I don't know why I thought maybe like teachers from Scale or some of the other ones would be applying for this money.
Yeah, that was an option and we've presented that to them, but we haven't gotten any applications.
So how long would we kind of hold out on that money? And then, you know, if it's not moving, then moving into the pot?
I feel like that's part of the conversation we should probably have
Okay,
tonight.
yeah.
Yeah.
Silvana, did you want to add
Yeah.
something on? Yeah.
Yes, please. I know a lot of people that would like to make some changes, and probably they don't know that exists this possibility for them. But which one are the criterias of this kind of application? Because it says currently running, and you said that is only used a small portion of the principal, the entire amount. So any criteria that this paraprofessional or adult education profession will have, like, are they trying to get more in their degree or getting a degree, or how's it works?
Yeah, so people have used it, for example, to attend professional conferences or training opportunities. So that's how it's been used. I'll recirculate that application with all the board members that has all of the criteria, just because I don't want to get anything wrong. It's been a little bit of time since I've looked at it, but also as I'm circulating it, if people have feedback on it, I'm willing to take that as well, because it would be great to see it utilized for the board to find other ways to help.
William, how does that info get out? Is that something that we have to kind of broadcast every now and then to kind of remind people it's there?
Yeah, so it's been shared out in a few different rounds of me sending to large email groups of potential participants or beneficiaries. And then beyond that, it's on the city website. I also went to the Somerville Community Agencies Network SCAN meeting back in the fall and talked with them about it there. And we had one or two people after that meeting that reached out to me, but then I didn't end up getting applications from them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, William. That would be great if you could share that with the board afterwards.
Yeah.
And then that'll have the full criteria of sort of high level that one has to be in a workforce development or that type of role, but the specifics will be in there.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. So I want to cover the piece around the active programs with the post-secondary success program.
Yeah, do you want me to introduce that a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, so within the meeting materials, there was also a memo providing some updates. We've talked about it being a goal of ours to help bring information to the trust about other city initiatives going on that are touching on similar things. One of those is related to active programs in the post-secondary success program. I just wanted to kind of to remind individuals, we talked about this a little bit at the annual meeting. This program served its first cohort of students starting in June of 2023, and it has since supported 67 low-income Somerville Public School students in transitioning to post-secondary opportunities, including career opportunities, job training programs, and 2- and 4-year college opportunities. And from the sheet we looked at earlier today, we have that program slated to end in June. So in the memo, I have a bit of an update on that program, but Rachel, I don't know if you wanted to add a little bit on that as well.
Yeah, just as folks are taking a look at the memo, the post-secondary success program has been, we've been finding a lot of success with it. The reports that we get back from students are are generally, I would say 95%, if not higher, positive. We're seeing students, hit their milestones, stay in school, start school even a year later. Folks who, just they need that extra year to figure out what they're going to be going to school for and make informed decisions. They've been working with students around, hey, is this program that I'm thinking about applying to the right choice financially for me? Is this the right choice in terms of my career goals? Helping them navigate some of those questions. And then also navigating all the logistical steps and hurdles that happen between, graduation day at the high school and actually starting in their next thing. What we've laid out in the memo for you all is a little bit of a challenge that we're facing with the continuity of the program. Right now, the program is slated to end with the end of ARPA in June of this year. So the staff is funded still on ARPA dollars until end of June. But there isn't a decision about general fund budget until June. That's a little difficult if you're going to take on a next cohort of students, because that next cohort of students needs to start, be identified before graduation, get started with their coach before graduation, and then really like the bulk of the work happens between June and September to get them ready for whatever is coming next, that summer melt time. And so, well, as William and I have been talking with our two coaches, Chadi and Regina, what we identified is we have a gap problem. We looked at the math. The JCRT obligated 100,000 to the program. 25 of that has already gone to meet, critical student needs, students who are, going to have to leave their programs without the last couple dollars. And so what we're looking at though is that if we want to get through this hump and actually take on a next cohort of folks into the program, another 30 to 50 students, we need to keep the coaches, we need to figure out how to fund the coaches until the fall. That way they can comfortably start with the students in March. We get through the general fund budget conversation in June and we'll know where we go from there, but we would at least be able to help that, whether or not it survives, we would still have been able to help a third cohort of students through. So again, we're pushing for these positions to move to the city's general fund. We don't know what that's going to look like. This year's budget process has not even started yet. But we would need to know if we have funding into the fall by March in order to take on that third cohort of students. So that's the proposal that we wrote down for the board to consider of sort of shifting how that 100,000 gets spent and allowing, we've identified as 65,000 to be spent on the coaches' salaries. That would get them deep into the fall, well past the and we'll know the answer about what comes next in June in an appropriate timeline. So I wanted to sort of present that to you all as a here's where we're at.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we need a motion, because I actually already thought we were funding their salaries, so.
The only question I have is, so the only risk right now would be if for some reason it doesn't get funded with this budget,
Yeah,
right?
I was wondering about that.
So if we, and I have no problem with doing this, but I'm just, the devil's in the details on these things, right? And from what I'm hearing, the budget's gonna be tight this year. So if we do fund this, so we're funding the salaries up until how long? You might have said that, Rachel, but.
Yeah, the 65 there's we won't know details of, we want to make sure that they get the same like salary adjustments that all non-union salaries are going through this big compensation study. So we don't have the exact numbers yet, but 65 should get us to roughly Thanksgiving into December potentially.
So that really almost gets you through 2025.
Exactly. And that allows for that, the staff to be comfortably on board. I mean, a big part of this is like when we're talking about staff, right? Like giving them enough runway to feel like their job is secure to not go searching. right? And so late into the fall gives them that, they'll have clarity on the general budget in June. And if we know but they know if they have a job all the way through until November, December, that hopefully they're not out there finding their next gig in May.
And like I see in the memo, the remaining 10,000 would be there to cover the emergency needs again throughout 25. Yep, yeah, I just wanted to make sure I understood, how all that shakes out.
So,
The motion. I hope
Oh,
the question.
yeah, Hazel Bond, I just saw you.
Yes, please. Rachel, you mentioned that it may go till at Thanksgiving. Is it starting now, includes the summertime or what? Because the budget is really tight, but I like to think that when we support that number there, 67 low income students, that is a big deal. So I would be pro to, have the chance that these people will be paid to serve to those in need in the community. But is it including the summer period and is actually started and will continue with what already have been started till in Thanksgiving, or?
Yeah, so Chadi and Regina have been spending the last couple of weeks really thinking about what integrating a third cohort is going to look like. The first cohort, the folks who are now, 2 years out from their high school graduation, many of them, they don't need as regular support. They're well on their way. They're fully established in their programs. They're thinking about even what might be coming after their next step, the steps that they took initially after high school. So there is what they've worked on is a tiered system. So those coaches will still continue to support the 30 some students who came in the first cohort. They'll be more intensely engaged with the 30 some students who graduated last year. And then for this new third incoming cohort, they would be spending a lot of time with those folks. The bulk of the work for the students first graduate high school happens really from like April before graduation through to September when they're starting programs. A lot of students are going part-time to Bunker Hill. And so a lot of the work is helping them navigate getting set up for their classes, ensuring that their schedule's working, figure out how they're going to, help them with the study skills and the, confidence to, talk to their boss with their job about navigating the new schedule of both, being a working student, figuring out what financial aid packages might be available for what they're thinking about studying, all those kinds of things. So the summertime is really busy. And again, we're looking to be able to give them that confidence that we are invested in this program across the city to, to see it through to whatever happens at the budget cycle. And that's where this budget, the 65K would really kick in starting July 1. And we would spend it from July 1 then through November.
Thank you.
Yeah, we could do a motion. Zero.
Sure. I'd make the motion to, well, it's funny, maybe we don't, only because we've already obligated the money, right? So what would the motion be, I guess,
Affirmation.
Yeah, I mean, I think our hope tonight is, I'm glad to hear that board members seem supportive of this. I think the step forward would be to just put an actual vote on our next agenda in March. If that works for people, just so that we can take an actual publicized vote on it. But I also recognize that we want to have this decided, as soon as we can.
William, could you
Yeah.
look back after this meeting,
Yeah.
our original vote on this
Yeah,
and how we worded it?
yeah. I can see how specific it was.
So we already obligated it.
It's been,
It's a matter of when they use it, right?
yeah, it's been obligated to the program. I think we were kind of waiting to see, we had a plan for a portion of this for student emergency funds, and then the rest of it was kind of trying to figure out what would be needed, and then this is kind of the response we've gotten into how it can help sustain the program. So I'll look back at the original language. For the
I mean, I
vote.
think too, as long as the city knows that, our intention is to allow them. And if we do have to have a formal vote next month or something, but at least like Rachel, you'd know that you can keep moving forward on it, right?
Yeah, that's really what would be most helpful, is just to make sure that there's confidence that this feels
That we-
comfortable to the board. And no red flags before we, we wouldn't be starting with students really until April. It's in the background, the coaches will be working with the guidance department at the high school and at Full Circle to identify likely candidates. And then also figuring out what ensuring that the students also understand that this program will for sure exist until sometime in the fall. After that, we're still working on the details.
And that, not just the students, the teachers, because we want to make sure we're retaining them and not, the way things are going out with the federal government right now. Nobody knows, what they're gonna have, so I think, we'd want to make sure that the teachers knew that, the board had intended to fund this, so we don't lose anybody.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And I will be abstaining on whatever votes, given that this is a program that our department runs, just so folks have that for accounting purposes when we're looking at quorum.
Thanks, Rachel. Okay, so we also want to talk about the obligations and that we already have out there. So folks have the memo, if you want to look at this for the visibility. So we have our Good Municipal Jobs Training Program, where we've obligated $400,000, the training program to provide preparation to Somerville residents for entry-level roles in the city, such as Department of Public Works. And we had been waiting for the resolution of the union contract negotiations
Which is,
to resume work on this priority,
we've achieved.
which we have achieved. So, my understanding is that in the coming weeks, William and staff will be meeting with other colleagues to kind of circle back on some of the conversations that we've been having a year ago. To learn more about how the agreement may impact the details of this, because we want to set this, well, I think we want to set this up for success. And so I think we've now shifted to a spot where union contracts have been made, and it's about getting the lay of the land with this, so that we would put out an RFP into out there. Anything to add to that, William? On that update?
Yeah, so I can add a little bit in that, we did have a meeting, with, as it says in the memo, we've started to have those meetings to better understand, the contract and what it means for, incumbent workers with the city and, potential people hired on into those positions. Some of the things highlighted in the contract were the pay boosts, which is definitely going to support the workers that are continuing to stay there and may attract new workers. There are also some pieces in the agreement that do talk about training opportunities and ways that people could be on a track to move up within city roles. And we're gonna be continuing to learn about the details, but I think that I hope I'm not speaking out of line by saying I think that this contract really is doing probably a little bit more for existing employees than for the purpose of attracting new workers. You know, wages are going up, but they're it's still very hard to compete with the private market and utility companies, for example. And the other thing to keep in mind too is that while there are some incentives that the union is offering to help train the incumbent workers, there's still the question of, you know, when does this training happen? Some of this training would still need to happen outside of their current work hours, and the training may be paid for, but there are not necessarily financial incentives to have people going to those non-paid hours. So these are a couple things just to keep in mind. We're going to keep learning about this impact, but wanted to give that update.
Thanks. Would it be a good time to do another subcommittee meeting for this subcommittee?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd be
Yeah.
happy to be on that committee.
Yeah, with the later agenda item is review who is currently on each subcommittee, but Rand, I know you need to leave.
Yeah,
So maybe we review the municipal jobs training program subcommittee and then can do a scheduling later. So Rand
Yes.
wants to be on it
So we have
Maybe already
Tom, Rand, and Vicky
already.
were in the iteration when we met quite a while ago. So I will work on scheduling with you all, and we can talk about it in more detail.
Okay, cool, thanks. All
can I
right,
be excused?
Sure.
yeah, we still have quorum. Thanks, Rand. Have a good rest of your
We'll see you
evening.
later.
More meetings.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So to go back to our agenda item on obligations that we have made, there is also the job quality human resources training for Somerville small businesses. We had obligated $81,000 for this priority, but our RFP a few years ago did not have any favorable responses, so we just had that money obligated and haven't found, I think, a great way to spend it. We have an exciting update from the economic development vision.
Yeah, as shared in the memo, our division is launching a limited technical assistance program for Somerville small businesses. This is funded by a grant from the Massachusetts Executive Office of Economic Development called the Urban Agenda Grant Program. And we're anticipating that some of the vendors that small businesses will have the opportunity to work with will be holding workshops that could cover some of the topics that we were looking to address with this funding, such as human resources and other ways that small businesses can support job quality for their employees. So yeah, still finalizing those vendors and the workshop schedule, but we'll be pushing this out to the small business community and can bring back our findings.
So that's a separate grant though, right?
Yep,
You know how
yeah.
much that was for?
It's $100,000 grant.
So would we be putting money on top of that, or are we waiting to see how that kind of?
Yeah, I think we're waiting to see how it goes, and one of the things that we're doing is really paying attention to the technical assistance providers, and if there's any that are really working, and potentially if they're keying in on some of these topics like human resources for small businesses, then maybe, you know, we'll want to make sure they're on the list that we send out in RFP too.
So what's nice about this is we'll be able to actually see how well they perform. And then if we want to then And it might be then, developing an RFP that would fit one of those different providers to provide additional training. Now, I think this is great. It'll finally, because this has been on the books from day one.
Oh, I know, we
right?
talked about this like the first year.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. thank you
Rachel,
for that.
no, that's great.
Oh, yeah, hey, Rachel.
Yeah, I want to just add, so one of the things that's exciting about this program is that we are able to fund workshop formats as well as one-on-one coaching formats. So we'll be interested, I think one of the things that'll be really interesting to see is, especially for a topic like human resources, how important is the one-on-one versus the workshop format? Like, we're thinking about like, how do we gauge engagement and interest in that? But I think it will be interesting to see if that one-on-one actually ends up being more valuable in some ways.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. My guess would be that the one-on-one technical assistance would be more appealing, just in that it's like flexible and would maybe be more specific to what they already have going on. So I'm really interested to see what pans out when this is rolled out.
Yeah, I agree, because it could be something where a business is having a particular issue with it, and it's almost like having your own consultant, to help you with that. So it'd be interesting to see how all that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did have some experience so with ARPA funding, we ran a program that was sort of rent support for new businesses and then technical assistance support and equipment funding for existing businesses. And the technical assistant and equipment funding was very popular and people reported very highly. So some of the folks who are going to be in this program are repeats, the folks we had before. We haven't seen them do workshop formats. So it'll be interesting to see that next layer of those companies.
Were those workshops, were they, and I forget, I should know this, but were they in person or were they virtual?
It's gonna probably be a mix. Some will
Okay.
be in person, some will be in a mix, virtual. Some of the digital topics might lend themselves to virtual format. But definitely some others are gonna be in person.
Could you make sure the board knows when those are actually happening, so like to
Yeah,
jump
we
in
can-
every now and then just to see, yeah, great. No, that sounds great, thanks.
Okay, and then lastly, we've obligated $300,000 to the Child Care Career Advancement Initiative. We didn't get a response to that RFP. That was the time when there was also a lot of state funding, ARPA funding also. Anyway, there were other funding out there for this same focus. And the memo that William shared. Oh, I moved the memo. Oh, I gave the memo away. So the memo that William shared is highlighting a specific situation related to family child care centers. Does anyone have any questions about what was covered in the menu? Wow, I'm just really like floating down today with words. Any specific questions about what was covered in the memo, or William, do you have any voiceover that you want to add to it?
Yeah, happy to take questions, but just kind of what we've been collaborating a bit with the city's childcare access team, also known as Summer Promise. And something that they've recognized is that even with some of the state programs that have existed in the past, one type of business that's kind of been left behind by these programs are the family childcare centers. So these are, home-based daycares, in other words, and they've had trouble, for example, sometimes meeting the state's requirements for applications, and they've recognized a particular need for training, which would be supporting both current and aspiring family childcare providers with pediatric CPR training. This is an essential license for the providers to have, and it needs to be completed annually and maintained. So the consideration here is potentially for a small portion of this $300,000 to fund multilingual CPR trainings for these providers, so that we can support these family childcare centers that in turn supports the overall economy and people's ability to go to work. So happy to take questions.
Silvana has a
Yeah.
question.
Yes, William, it sounds great, and that is actually one of the most the main requirement by EEC that gives them the license. But I was wondering, we can provide for every home-based daycare. We don't know the numbers of this home-based daycare here in Somerville, and are we providing only to them or wider than our city? But let me rephrase it. Like I actually, I'm curious to know, but I don't know how many home daycares are existing here in our city, and can all of them benefit from this program, or it's a lot? Because
I think so the childcare access team tracks this more closely, but I think there's between 20 and 30 home-based providers in Somerville. And most of them have like very, very small staff numbers, 1 or 2 people on staff. So I think that we would need to get some sort of quotes on the costs per individual, but it's a relatively low number, and we would be having it focus on the providers that are in Somerville, and I think the focus is on the family childcare centers, but we could also consider other Somerville providers.
thank you.
Look, something specific like this type of training, to me, it's similar to, like, we'll bring the American Red Cross into our company. They do company-wide CPR training, and we'll have a group of, it could be 50 people at that one training. And usually, within, it's a full day, and, they get their certification. Would that be, instead of like a one-on-one type of thing, which would be very costly, would that make more sense where we notify, and the city must have the list of, because they're licensed, right? And then say, hey, we're gonna be providing this training, and you can be able to get your certificate, and it's gonna be held at the Tab Building, and it's gonna be on a Saturday, blah, 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 right?
Right.
That might be the most effective way to do it. Now, I was gonna ask Jim a question, because we have the childcare program up at the high school. And this is where I've thought about this over the years is, can Somerville High School in the CTE program, say childcare, apply for some of this money? Jim, I don't know, do the kids, when they graduate from the childcare program, are they certified in pediatric CPR training, do you know?
Yeah, they are. Yep.
Right, yep. So I'm always looking for ways to, can we find, like, if Jim needs money, which I'm sure you always do, right?
Right.
Is there ways that, the CTE program, or the high school itself, can apply for funding also? Or could we assist so you have teachers that are trained in this? So is that another way of, again, it's an opportunity for the teachers to maybe earn some extra income to be able to train this. So I'm kind of trying to figure out what kind of partnership it would be,
Yeah, we have several teachers that are trained in first aid CPR to train,
Yeah,
to train the trainers. So, yeah, we do.
Okay.
all right,
And
great.
Rachel, you had a hand up as well.
Yeah, I think so. A couple things stress me. So one is one of the things that works very nicely about thinking about this as a cohort group is that the family-based childcare providers are almost by definition Somerville residents. So that makes it a little bit easier to align with that layer of the JCRT mission. You know, there might be a couple of assistants who wouldn't qualify, but you know, the owner, these are daycares happening in folks' homes, so they do live here. The other thing that is, I think, valuable again as a cohort is that the childcare access team over at Summer Promise already has established a cohort working group of family-based childcares here in Somerville. I think it's about like 50% of the current number of providers are participating in that cohort as a space for professional development, sharing resources, sharing techniques, things like that. And so there's a way of sort of, working through them to open this training up and to others, and then also encourage those who have not been participating in that cohort to further seek the support of their colleagues who are doing the same job.
Thanks, Rachel.
So just, so Jim, I'm just kind of throwing something out here. So if and I don't know if this is appropriate or not, so tell me if it's not, but if the high school and, you have certified teachers, could they, again, apply for funding for the training and then use the high school facilities, at night or whatever? Again, you'd have to coordinate with the teachers, to actually provide the funding in the actual program that we have now, because you have a lot of the equipment and everything right there. Again, I'm just trying to figure out what's the easiest way to make this all happen.
Yeah, I think just I'm kind of throwing a wrinkle in that a little bit, Tom, but I think one of the considerations is also that the majority of these providers are looking for multilingual training. So they're looking for pediatric CPR in Portuguese or in Spanish or in Haitian Creole.
How many languages do we talk up at the high school? 67 or something like that, Jim?
Yeah. But
So-
yeah, we do not,
Yeah.
to William's point though, we do not offer the trainings in multilingual currently anyway, we do not.
But we have, that childcare team has identified a couple of trainers that we could reach out to about this opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, my point was, is just trying to use the facility, it's there. And,
Yeah.
It's central to.
Yeah, if there's any way we can collaborate, we're more than willing to. If there is a need, let us know and we'll help out as much and when we can.
Thanks, Jim. So I have a couple thoughts as we zoom out and think about our future spending priorities. One is, I think we should continue with the Good Municipal Jobs Training Program. I'm excited about the subcommittee getting back up there and figuring out what the next step is on that. For the Childcare Career Advancement Initiative, I think that the CPR training and ways to support the family childcare centers makes sense. I personally think that this funding, since it hasn't gotten a lot of traction for a while, I would be interested in kind of us thinking of it as potentially money that could be re-obligated to explore what a pre-training or bridge program could look like. If there's other sort of the job networking, social capital building type programs that have come to us, I think that could be the type of thing to think about for this, for the rest of this money that doesn't get covered by CPR training and potentially putting it back into the pot. And then the second thing that I think the board should consider is looking at the expiration dates for some of the programs that we're already funding. Particularly around the contextualized ESOL. And it looks like many of our industry training programs go through. Well, two of them go into 2026. And then the other two go basically for the end of this year. But just thinking about the timing of when we would want to do, if we want to continue to fund contextualized ESOL and industry training. Being thoughtful about the timing of that so that it lines up with when makes sense for those types of providers to be applying for it and starting either their program cycle or their school year. And those are my two current thoughts. I'm interested in board members' thoughts about future spending priorities.
No, I think, yeah, I'm fine with those. Yeah, I guess on some of these that have been kind of ongoing. Do any of them, so, and I always think in like apprenticeship program, where we have first year to fifth year. So how many of these are, we're getting, students to, the next level? Is there then another level that, the providers will be coming back at and saying, okay, this cohort is achieved these milestones and now for them to further on and whatever it is, it could be IT, it could be, the industrial, trainings or, any of them. Are there any that the natural step would be to fund the next wave? So you're almost getting the students from year 1 to year 2 to year 3 to whether it's a certificate program or whatever it is, right? So that I would like to know because because I think our funds are gonna be limited, right? So, to see if we can make sure we're almost finishing that training so that they then can get that job that we're hoping for them to get. So I'd like to get information on that, and if any of the providers are, that's kind of what they're looking at too. But then, and I agree, and I know the 81,000's been hanging out there for a long time. And if we have to, refund it, and then we're actually, the city's getting this other grant. I think it's achieving that. I still would like to kind of see how that goes to see. Cause I'm sure this is a one-time grant, right, on the, so again, do we pick up on that one later on, so. So those are my thoughts, I think, but I agree with you, where you're going with these.
Thanks, Tom. Rachel?
Yeah, I would say that the grant we have from the state also is a very short turnaround timeline. That grant is only until June, so that rollout of those workshops and we were sort of a last minute addition. We were tier 2 once, a few other folks came in under budget. And so we're racing to get those programs launched, those workshops launched, but they will all wrap up by June. So it's sort of time. I have the same thought on like thinking about how we extend our funding longer term. And then with the other thing I've been thinking about is like anything we take on, thinking about if there's a way to either give flexibility to the provider or structure our RFPs to ensure that like we are getting some longevity with the program. I think there's one of the things I'm sort of seeing is that like we've been doing a lot of like funding things on a year-to-year basis, and some of these programs maybe would benefit from having that like a 2 or a 3 year time horizon. Like maybe I know we have like Perscolas, it goes till 2026, but maybe even ESOL like sort of set like we want you to spend this over time with and allow students to progress for a couple of years. I feel like they've been getting so many folks in for one semester and then we run out of funding, like they run out of funding at the end of the semester, and those folks got 1 semester's worth and not 2 years worth of the training.
So almost reduce the number and to, so that the money kind of lasts longer, but they can, so that group of students goes from, you know, level A to level B to level C. Not that's a good, but
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like you can either serve 50 people for 3 months, or you could serve 15 for 2 years. And I don't know what the math is, but like, you know, do you get somebody further on their path that you were just talking about, Tom? Like, how do we get folks sort of extending that pathway forward?
Any other thoughts to share, folks? Rachel, are you raising? your
Yeah,
hand?
I am sorry. I realized there's one another that I think we need to just have in the back of our minds as well. That in addition to the ARPA cliff, SEC is funded right now for their first choice, the first source jobs program is funded partially from grants and partially from community benefits raised in Union Square. That commitment sort of, they're in the last couple of years of that commitment. So like there will be a cliff potentially for that program that we should have an eye on as well. Because that is quite a successful program, and that is hitting some of those durable skills supports for job seekers.
Thanks, Rachel.
Yeah. I'll just say, yeah, I do agree with the, you know, trying to get the programs from, you know, more than 1 year or more than one session. However, some of the programs, you know, I think they serve well as a, you know, a 1 year commitment, and then that sets them up for their next level on their own, you know? So I think both thought processes are, you know, needed for sure. But I can see where the value is to go from an A to a B to a C and really set those folks up, you know? If it's worth lowering the number to really set those folks up for success. So I do agree with both thought processes, I guess.
Thanks, Jim. Hey, Sylvana.
Yeah, that will be ideal, having all of them. I know that we have a tight budget for having like going on scales like that. What it was beneficial for me today was that I agree with Tom. We want to have this money to be benefited by residents of Somerville, and the trainers to be from Somerville too. So the money will go for the resident of Somerville, but they will be here in Somerville. So having to find a way that we can use the high school and all the trainers there, the teachers, and all those money will be spent for a benefit on both sides would be a great idea. And I hardly wait to see that, because with one rock we kill two birds. Like, we have the money right here in the heart of our city.
Thanks, Sylvana.
one thing with the RFPs is for training. Maybe it's also working with the high school so that these potential providers know that they have some training resources right here in the city. The teachers that might be able to, you know, so that you can connect them again. So if they want to earn some extra money or whatever.
Yeah.
It's available.
Yeah, leveraging the high school makes a lot of sense to me.
I want to ask Mr. James for a quick question, please. We have students in high school that are illiteracy, so we do not have interpreter offering this kind of a bunch of language that we need for having the CPR or first aid for the home-based daycares. But we have a lot of students that are biliteracy. They are bilingual, and they have their home language, and they probably would be able to, you know, be an interpreter and translate easy steps of these trainers. And we give them the possibility to, to be partner in something, that will be an idea. I don't know how it works and how many you have, James.
Yeah, so absolutely. So we do have students that would be able to support. We have staff that are support. Like I have a bilingual paraprofessional that could support. Yes, absolutely. So we do have students that we could actually, pay them to help with the training, and then with translation. And then absolutely, we have staff that are bilingual that could support the training
Have
as
so
well.
many in our hand. Like we have the environment, we will have the interpreter, the teachers that will lead, that they are trainers, and then it will be longer as a training process, because we have to translate it in. But we can separate it in days, and will be like very beneficial if we see it close. We don't need to pay, expensive bills for bringing other people's, when we can do this with our hands. That's all. Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate it, because
one of the things, Jim, and I learned this just, I was up with the electrical kids. Was last summer, right before school got out. And the teacher asked me to go up to talk to them about the union and, electrical. And while I was there, I started to get annoyed because this kid was talking through the whole, while I was talking, so I finally turned around and said to him, so he made me look really bad, and I said, okay, so why don't you tell me what's so important, right? And then come to find out, Rich, the teacher, said to me, oh, he's translating to the other kid beside him. So a lot of the students just do it on their own, and I felt, like, oh, gee, sorry, But, so I've actually seen that up there too, and they just kind of do it, which is great, but that's another thing. Never thought of before, but I learned firsthand, and the kids just volunteer to do it themselves with the teachers, so. Yeah, it works, it can be, and it works with them, and if there's a way that we can make it all kind of come together, and that'd be great. And then using the facility too.
Yep.
When we can.
Okay, so I think there's some threads to go back to the CPR idea. I'm thinking about if we can do this here, or what that could look like. I think we are talking about having another subcommittee meeting about good municipal jobs training program. We're looking up the voting requirements for our obligation situation, with the board intends to fund the staff for the post-secondary success program, and we'll have a formal vote in March if that is required. And then I think the other thing is, when we come to the March meeting, I think it would be good to be looking at the expiration dates and maybe putting some dollar figures of like what we would want to spend over the next couple of years. Because the other thing I think about is, if when this good municipal jobs RFP does go out, that will be like a $400,000 training program that's out. So I know it's positioned for the city jobs, and at the same time, it is also a training program. So just sort of thinking about like what our RFP timing is, I think will be good. So for that, this is about 8. Let's look at our subcommittees.
Yes.
I know it's been a little while since we've met in our subcommittees, and so I think it's good for us to reorient ourselves for which ones we are on and which ones need to meet. So contextualized VSOL, Annika, Vicky, Tom, and Silvana. Okay.
And that might be meeting sometime this spring, especially thinking about programs that are wrapping up at the end of the semester in the future of their funding.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Good municipal jobs, I think that's the next one to get scheduled. Childcare career advancement, I think we should hold on that one, because we might not, well, hold is the right word. But I don't know if we need a subcommittee for the CPR idea, and I think this might be money that we shift back into the pot. Oh, and Jim has raised his hand. Hey, Jim.
Sorry to interrupt. Could I get added to the Good Municipal Jobs Committee?
Yes.
Yep,
Alrighty.
Okay,
Thank you.
that'd be great. Thank you.
yeah,
Okay, and we have our industry specific training. Is. Counselor Bach, Jacob, and Tom. And Jim is raising his hand. Are you?
Sorry. Can I get added to that one too, please?
Yeah, sure. Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, put your name on all of them.
No, just those two, just those two.
I'm assuming 4 is the max, right?
4 is the max, because once we're at 5, it's basically a board meeting.
Yeah, wanted to just double check that.
Yeah, okay, does industry specific training need to meet anytime soon? I feel. I don't know, what were you gonna say?
I mean, I don't think so in terms of RFP drafting, because I think it would be thinking around the spring as well, when programs are wrapping up, but I don't think it necessarily needs to be in the next month.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think also the board, we should talk as a board about the sort of amount and timing of what money we would wanna send out. Mental health training. That program's already out, happening,
Yep,
great. Financial literacy, I think that's one that we,
yeah, so this is the last of these obligation that I'm trying to figure out.
Rachel.
Yeah, kind of how we prioritize tackling them. Yeah, Rachel?
May I suggest that that group meet in a like month-ish or 2-ish? And the thought I had on it is I could see thinking about the durable skills, growth mindset, communication, like all of those layers alongside the financial literacy. I could see that being a sphere that which we've already obligated this 250, that was an area that was raised. They aren't exactly the same, but they are kind of aligned.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And
So
maybe that group tackles that question.
yeah, so we currently have Counselor Mba, Rachel, Silvana, and Annika on that subcommittee, so I will think about scheduling in the next month or two so that we can talk about that 250 a little bit more, because I think that's one of the ideas from this list that's maybe the least detailed at the moment.
Yeah.
We haven't put out an RFP on it, so.
Silvana?
I'm so sorry. I just wanted to remind, who's leading this program and where is it exactly happening? Or it
Financial literacy?
yes.
There's no program.
Yeah, we haven't figured
We
it
have,
out yet.
we have nothing figured out. There's no
Okay.
program and no money has gone out.
And we don't have anything specifically like what category of like ages and professions are gonna participate there.
Yeah, that's what the subcommittee will need to cover. I think we have an idea that financial literacy is important and folks have shared that it's important, but we have 0 details.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we shall put on our thinking caps and get ready to sort out some of those things for what we would be looking for. Okay. Tom, you've been here the whole time. I just noticed you. Okay, so I think we know our subcommittees. We have our steps for when they're gonna be scheduled. Municipal jobs will be the soonest, then financial literacy, and then later contextualize ESOL throughout the spring. And we have our next steps on some of the funding things we're gonna talk about. And so then we'll continue our strategy conversation at our next meeting. So, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Okay, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Tom Ben,
Aye.
Silvana,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Rachel. Annika, yes. The meeting is adjourned. At 8:07.
William, please send those doodle poodle wherever you have those for meeting dates, please.
Yes,
Thank
yeah,
you.
I'll work on getting our next one scheduled. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Good to
Yep.
see you folks. Have a good rest
Thank
of your
you.
night.
Have a good night.
Bye.